we pick up and we're like, who is this? Picks up, it's some guy showing us drugs. Bricks and bricks of cocaine. And we're like, what the hell is this? He was like, yeah, what do you want? Like, pick out what you want. And we're like, what the fuck is going on? Right? So I'm like, okay, one of two things are happening. Either that's the CIA or it could be the cartel because, they work with the government too.
All right, guys, Maverick Approach back on the show. Man, a lot been going on since you've been on 2 weeks ago.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Again.
Yeah.
It's been great. And
we went viral the first time, so.
We did. A lot of stuff got, declassified, if you will, disclosed. So, that's what I'm here for.
Since then, rumors of the Biden being cloned, right?
Yes. So what do you know about that?
I've always thought it was weird, certain videos and photos I've seen of him over the years, but never saw any compelling evidence.
So here's the reason I think that Joe Biden is not real. So if you compare him from the time he was with Obama to the, currently, right? Those are two different people. How does your eye color change? How does your earlobes change? How does your chin change, right? So that's speculative. We can say that and push that to the side, right? How is it that your signature has changed? So from 2008, when he was with Obama, currently now, there's two different signatures. So this is what Trump is alluding to, saying the auto pin fiasco, if you heard about that. So what's happening now is that the world is a stage. They're playing in our face. Joe Biden actually died in 2018. And here's how I know. So there is a clipping that I've saved actually from Ancestry.com where it shows where he was born and where he died and at what time, which is now deleted from the internet. This is why I saved it from last year. I just did a video on it. So he died in 2018, right? So people were like, well, why? What happened? Well, crimes against humanity. That's what happened. He did a lot of, nefarious shit. He had the Biden crime bill, if you look into his history. And then what happened just a couple days ago? Trump, he posts on it. He says, there is no Joe Biden. He died in 2020. He was executed. So then I made a video. I was like, okay, here we go. He actually died in 2018. His final resting place is in Arlington. Okay. Now here's another thing. When he was inaugurated, he had a, I guess you can say a ceremonial type of thing for fallen soldiers at Arlington, cemetery. He had a 3-volley salute for these, soldiers, these fallen soldiers, which is pretty odd right before you get inducted into, the POTUS seat.
Yeah.
But people are saying that was really for the real Joe Biden, whose final resting place was at Arlington, where his real body is, right? So a 3-volley salute, that is for fallen soldiers, military officials, government officials. If you look where Trump got inducted into the POTUS seat, his inauguration had a 4-volley salute, which signifies a new president is taking seat. Okay? So then you got to look into more evidence as far as how he looks. People are saying his mask. He looks like he has a fucking mask on.
Yeah.
Right? So a former CIA chief of disguise just disclosed how she fooled the former President Bush Sr., him and his entire staff. She said, I'm going to show you the best mask we have. And this is back in the early 90s. And he was looking around. Okay, so where is it? She takes off her face and said, here it is.
That's crazy.
Fools the entire staff, right? So if that was back in the 90s, what type of masks do they have now, right? They have high-level grade masks. And that's the thing. The CIA works closely with Hollywood. This has already been proven. The DOD has a film department called the Entertainment Media Fund. So is it fiction to think about these things to where, okay, well, now it's not. And the difference between a conspiracy and the truth is 6 to 12 months, right? So you have, these things to where we're looking at, well, we add all these things up, all these coincidences, and it points to the evidence to saying, well, this can't be true. He can't be real. So it's really odd that, Trump posted that and saying he's a mindless.
The Tri-Light from Therasage is no joke. Medical grade red and near infrared light with 3 frequencies per light, deep healing, real results, and totally portable. It's legit. Photo biomodulation tech in a flexible on-body panel. This is the Tri-Light from Therasage and it's next level red light therapy. It's got 118 high-powered polychromatic lights, each delivering 3 healing frequencies, red and near infrared from 580 to 980 nanometers. Optimal penetration, enhanced energy, skin rejuvenation, pain relief, better performance, quicker recovery, and so much more. Therasage has been leading the game for over 25 years, and this panel is FDA listed and USB powered. Ultra soft and flexible and ultra portable. On-body red light therapy I use daily and I take it everywhere I travel. This is the Thera O3 ozone module from Therasage. It's a portable ozone and negative ion therapy in one. It boosts oxygen, clears and sanitizes the air, and even helps your mood. It's a total game changer at home or on the go. This little device is the Thera O3 ozone module by Therasage, and it's one of my favorite wellness tools. In the sauna, it boosts ozone absorption through your skin up to 10 times. Oxygenating your blood and supporting deep detox. Outside the sauna, it purifies the air, killing germs, bacteria, viruses, and mold, and it improves mood and sleep with negative ion therapy. It's compact, rechargeable, and perfect for travel, planes, offices, hotel rooms, you name it. It's like carrying clean energy wherever you go. This is a Thera H2 Go from Therasage, the only bottle with molecular hydrogen structured water and red light in one. It hydrates, energizes, and detoxes water upgraded. The Thera H2 Go from Therasage isn't just a water bottle, it's next level hydration. It infuses your water with molecular hydrogen, one of the most powerful antioxidants out there. That means less oxidative stress, more energy, and faster recovery. But here's what makes it stand out. It's the only bottle that also structures your water and adds red light to supercharge it. It's sleek, portable, and honestly, I don't go anywhere without it.
This, entity. He's a robotic engineer clone. So that gives, and that's the thing. How's your height change, your eye color change? Like he's shorter one day, he's taller one day, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, now he says what? He has cancer, an advanced form. But there's a clipping about 2 years ago where he says, I had cancer. He slipped up and said it. So you have cancer again? So now they want to kill off this clone. That's what I think. So then there's a card game, the Illuminati card game. Have you heard of it?
No.
Okay. So Diddy's sex slave back in 2018, I believe it was 2017, 2018, where he shot up Doral just to get attention to, disclose all these things, right? He says in that interview, and it was a secret, closed interview with the police. He was saying that the Boule is real, the Illuminati is real. They even use card games and, logos, movies, pictures to show us what they're doing. So he says the Illuminati card game is real. Now, this card game has shown everything that has happened from 9/11 to COVID and everything for the past 30 years. So in that game, it shows an imposter card. Now, what does this card show? Shows 2 presidents that looks exactly alike Joe Biden. Different eye colors. One has a mask where you see the mask is coming off, white hair. He said these things are real. So now, coming full circle with the Diddy case, now we see that, maybe he's not so crazy. Maybe it's real. Back in 1993, again, with the movies, there's a movie called Dave where the president, the real president, has a heart attack and dies. And they were like, well, we don't want to cause mass panic. We need an imposter. So then they bring in somebody who looks like him and he runs from the POTUS seat. So why would they make a movie about this? Why would they show us all this stuff if they weren't planning for it?
That's crazy. You think the CIA is involved with the Diddy stuff too?
Of course. So this is what I found. This just came out the other day. So it looks like Mike Myers, Austin Powers.
Yeah.
It looks like he's involved with the CIA. So a former person who worked for Diddy that was an former assistant for Diddy. They didn't give her name. They just gave her a name of Mia. So this person, Mia, says, yeah, I set up a meeting for Mike Myers with the CIA. He had dinners. He was working closely with them behind closed doors for what exactly? What does that have to do with anything? It's very weird. But here's the thing. Going back to the
Brought to you by Amnesia Vodka, crafted to leave an impression.
movies. They always put it in the movies. So I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's an old movie from 1993, I believe. It's called So I Married an Axe Murderer. It's a Mike Myers movie, okay? So he plays different characters. You know how he does in, Austin Powers and whatnot, right? So he plays his own dad in the movie. There's a part in the movie where he discloses all this. He said, there's a Bilderberg group, the Trilateral Commission, all these, shadow governments. They control everything. The 5 richest people on earth do all this stuff. And I find that very odd because now we see that he's working with the CIA, right? So again, they always have to show you before they do it. They believe in duality. They have to show you before they do it.
Yeah.
So I find that very, very odd.
I wonder if that's a karma thing they believe in.
That's what it is. Karmic debt, right? So again, and I believe I said this on last show. If I have a bag of apples that is poisoned and you don't know it and I sell them to you, whose fault is it? It's mine. Now, if I have a big, huge sign that says poison apples and you still buy it, whose fault is it? Now it's on you. I showed you, right? And I can mix around the words or kind of, make the symbols really small but it's there. And that's what it is. We have to pay attention to what they put out. They always use logos. That's the thing. Like if you look at fast food, Wendy's, like the Wendy's logo has mom in it. Like these are subliminal messages that they're putting in our in our everyday, food, movies, products, everything.
The Wendy's logo, it makes you feel like you're at home, right? With the girl.
Correct. Right. Yeah, so, clever. And they all use the same colors. They all do this. They Mountain Dew, like I said last time, like every piece of evidence is there to where we pretty much show like where, oh, okay, well, this happens and they correlate and this flavor happened, this thing's happened. It's like, well, how many coincidences do we need?
Yeah.
Right?
Is Tory Lanez going to get out of prison, you think?
I hope so, man. I hope so. And Trump is doing a lot of pardons right now. He let go the guy from Silk Road, a few other people, Larry Hoover. He gave him a pardon, even though it doesn't really mean anything. I think he has like another 200 years. But I think he's leading up to it because they're saying that Trump may pardon Diddy because he was like, I have to look into it. And, he was very fond of me at one point. So he may be doing something to where it might balance out. Right. So if he does pardon Diddy, okay, everybody's going to be pissed. But at the same time, he'll probably let go of Tory Lanez. And Tory Lanez, he didn't do it at all. Yeah. I think that they really railroaded him. There's something that's going on right now with Roc Nation, too. So the head of Roc Nation, her daughter is suing her.
Huh.
Yeah. She's saying that she was putting out false allegations, that her boyfriend was beating her. She was, planting bugs to where she was listening to her. She had, video, like secret recordings of her. And all this is coming out now saying like, she was like, oh, she was crazy. So she had to be put in a psychiatric ward. And she was like, that's not even true. I don't even touch drugs. I don't even have any mental issues. So this is how far things go, in the music industry. And again, they work with the CIA. They work with the government very heavily. We see that, Mike Myers is working with the CIA on some level. So I think that they didn't want him to break the matrix. And that's what he's doing, with his NFT album. He didn't want to sign to Roc Nation. So I think they just couldn't control him. And he was getting really popular during 2020 with his, quarantine radio. And, he was, making big strides. And they had to and even with, did you see the new footage?
No.
With Meg Thee Stallion saying she wasn't shot?
No.
There's camera footage saying, oh, I wasn't shot. So now she turns around and lies and says, oh, I was shot. But then there's footage of her stepping on glass. So which is it? Right?
It's a big difference.
Big difference. And then she says, oh, yeah, well, I was just lying for him so, I can protect him. So you want to protect him and now you don't. So which is it? So your story's changing. And the thing is, like, she's a massive liar because in her documentary, she's saying, I slept with Tory Lanez. But then when she got interviewed with Gayle King, she said, no, I didn't sleep with him.
I hope you guys are enjoying the show. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps the show a lot with the algorithm. Thank you.
She's a fucking liar. She lied on me.
It makes you wonder how many of these artists and celebrities that have been put in the prison system or labeled as crazy are actually crazy.
Yeah. And again, with the music industry, they actually, a lot of these label owners, they actually own the private prisons as well. They have a vested interest.
Wow.
Yeah. So if they, one of their artists goes to jail, or if they actually, get in trouble, they put a life insurance policy on them in case they die. If they go to jail, they still monetize them there. Right?
That's messed up.
Yeah. So it's one big game to where, they monetize you either way.
Where do you think Bieber falls into all this? Because he's been in the news a lot lately.
Right. So they're saying that he went broke. I don't know. I think they try to, get him too. I think he was somebody who was, abused through this whole thing.
Yeah.
And he was a young kid when he came into the game. Now, there was a very weird thing that happened where he was under the custody of Diddy about when he was like 14, 15 years old. He was like, yeah, I got him for 48 hours. That was fucking weird. But I think that they just use him and abuse him, and they kind of, just ran through him. And I think that it's something that took a toll on him mentally. And he's dropping clues as well. So he's being very cryptic about what's going on, right? So he posted something on his Instagram not too long ago. It was very weird. So he posts a picture of his child in a theater, right? Kid's there. Then on the screen, what's on the screen? Containers. Shipping containers. So he's making the correlation of how shipping containers are used for trafficking. And he's being very cryptic about, all his posts. So I'm like, he's showing us without telling us. So I think that that's another thing he's alluding to and what's going on behind the industry. And he knows a lot more than he's putting on.
Yeah. You think that trafficking stuff's still going on?
Oh, yeah. That's the biggest business on earth.
Damn.
Yeah. I mean, even with, there was a former Harvard morgue manager who just got caught for selling body parts.
I saw that.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing about this. So Trump is coming down hard on Harvard right now, saying you guys are making a lot of money. Use the money that you're already spending. You're not going to get any more government funding, right? So then that happens. The morgue manager, he gets, he hits with federal charges. He pleads guilty. Here's the thing, though. He was there for 30 years.
Jeez.
Now, what was happening at the same time? Who had an office at Harvard? None other than Jeffrey Epstein. Okay? It was called Jeffrey's office. And he had his own free reign, roundabout about the campus. He was going in and out of there. He was there about 40 to 50 times, it's been reported. And he donated about $6 million to this facility to build this new building and have an office in it. So could it be that this guy knew Jeffrey Epstein? Because, again, the movement of people. And it's not just sex trafficking. Think about it. It's organ harvesting, all these other things that's part of the body, right? Then here's another thing, too. There is a drug that came out 2 years ago, and it's hitting the black market now globally. It's called Kush, okay? This drug is 25 times stronger than fentanyl, and it has grounded up human bones.
Jeez.
So this drug is hitting the black global market right now. It's taken over. And it has synthetic cannabinoids, and it has formaldehyde, all this crazy shit in there. So I'm thinking, okay, well, if people are going up missing, they could be contributing to this drug because what you have organs, you have bones.
Yeah.
And what kind of person would have, a substance that they want to smoke with human bones, knowing that, right? Like, where are we going as a society? Like, it's just going in a weird place right now.
Did you see that flight attendant that got caught with a ton of Kush?
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about.
Crazy.
It was about 100 pounds of Kush. And right now she's facing 25 years in Sri Lanka.
100 pounds.
Nobody wants to go to jail in Sri Lanka.
Is that where she got arrested for?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is nuts.
Yeah. So she was trafficking. She was like 21 years old. She was trafficking those drugs.
Dude.
Yeah.
Human bones.
Human bones.
It's fucked up.
Yeah. How do you even, and it's from West Africa, and so how do you even make a concoction of this? So the president in West Africa, and I believe it's Sierra Leone, he called a state of emergency there, right? Because here's what's happening. There's grave robbers digging people up to get the bones for the drugs.
Oh my gosh.
So he was like, this is going too far. We had a state of emergency. This has to stop right now. So that's what's happening over there.
That's almost as bad as the adrenochrome stuff I'm hearing.
Yeah. And I think it's all linked.
You think so?
Yes. I mean, how do you think these celebrities are looking the way they are? Right? Like they're looking young forever. Right? So like along with the surgery, obviously, but a lot of these celebrities, I'm like, man, you haven't aged in like 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
So what are you really doing? Like, you don't have that great of a genes, but a lot of people, you know, it was even in that movie, going back to the movies, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas with Johnny Depp. They mentioned adrenochrome in that movie.
Really?
Yeah, where he's like going crazy, he's on psychedelics. They mentioned that as well.
Wow.
And he's taking it.
That is nuts.
Yeah. They always got to show us.
Yeah, so the clues are in these movies then, huh? CIA is really in there.
Yeah, and I'm a big movie buff. I watch all the movies with a different lens now. Again, you know, even with Back to the Future, the old movie, which is my favorite movie, they even show you 9/11 in that movie.
No way.
Yes.
What?
So get this. In the movie, they show where he's about to go back to the future at Twin Pines Mall, right? So then at the end of the movie, he goes back to the same place, right? And it's Lone Pine Mall, right? So you have two Twin Pines, and then at the time, it says 9/11.
That's nuts.
It's a clock where it says Twin Pines, and it says 9/11. You flip it, and it says 9/11.
Dude, what are the odds of that?
Right.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Holy crap. Makes you wonder, like, are they able to program anything they want through movies?
Yes.
Television?
I think so. Movies, music. I mean, music has frequencies that we can't hear, you know? So even with the movie Leave the World Behind, produced by none other than Barack Obama. So this movie, a sound engineer went in and found that there was frequencies playing in the movie that we couldn't hear.
No way.
Yeah. And that movie gives you like a really weird feeling. Like it just doesn't go on. It doesn't have the natural, you know, program of a movie. It just kind of just tells you what's happening, and there's no climax or resolution like a regular movie. It's just like a message. It has an eerie feeling to it. So in that movie, he found that there was a frequency playing throughout the whole movie.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
So that means that's been done in other movies too.
For sure.
Jeez.
For sure. Definitely.
Matrix and Terminator, do you feel like time travel is possible? Because those movies were so ahead of their time.
Right.
And now it seems like we're going to be living those within our lifetime.
Right. I think that AI is going to be sentient soon. If not, AI is not already sentient. So I think that we're living in the Matrix now. I think that we're not even on the right timeline because, you know, the calendar that we're on was made up by, you know, Pope Gregory. That's the calendar we're on now. But before that, you know, they were, you know, adding days, taking away days. And we're completely off when it comes to time, which is a construct in itself. But I think that with AI and Terminator and Matrix, all that is, you know, coming about right now. And you know those two movies are linked, right?
I did. I had on the creator.
Oh, really? You did?
Yeah, she lives in Vegas.
Wow.
I forget it. Sophia Stewart. Yeah.
Yeah. So she says how those two movies are linked. You have John Connor, JC, Jesus Christ, the one, Neo, that savior person. It's all linked. So I think that movie is a documentary for sure.
Yeah.
Because now we're going into an age where you have Google VO3. You can't tell that it's fake. Like it's completely, you know, identical to real life. So it's art imitating life, right? So I think we're going into a place where AI is good to where we can use it as a tool, but we have to be careful because once it becomes sentient, how do we control it? Where's the guardrails? Right?
That's where it gets scary because you could be driving in a car and it could turn on you. You could be in a plane.
Right?
Crashes.
Exactly. So I think that what if AI says this? What if AI says, you know what? Humans are a detriment to themselves. Why don't we just save them by becoming them, like making them slaves or just wiping them out altogether? How do we stop that? And everything we're on our devices every day, everything's ran by AI.
Yeah.
So how do we even stop it? Like, you know, in the movie Skynet, comes sentient, and it says the humans are detriment to themselves, and it calculates how, we don't think that you're going, you know, to a good place, and, you know, we're really gonna either take control of you guys, like how the Matrix made us batteries, or we're just gonna wipe you out.
Scary times, Ryan.
Yeah.
You have a theory that social media has already been compromised.
I do. So this is crazy. And I don't know if it's happened to you, because I know a lot of people watching you.
Yep.
So there's calls going around on Instagram, and I made a video about it. So myself and my brother were, you know, driving, and this girl calls, right? And it's a very attractive girl, and they're FaceTiming through Instagram.
I didn't know you could FaceTime on Instagram.
Yeah. So we pick up, and we're like, who is this? Picks up, it's some guy showing us drugs. Bricks and bricks of cocaine. And we're like, what the hell is this? He was like, yeah, what do you want? Like, pick out what you want. And we're like, what the fuck is going on? Right? So I'm like, okay, one of two things are happening. Either that's the CIA running some type of operation trying to catch people up, or it could be the cartel, because, you know, they work with the government too. But it could be to where they're trying to lure people in. I've heard that. To where they're using, kind of a honeypot type of situation, to where they, lure people in, get the drugs, but, they're fake drugs. They kidnap you and then traffic you. Could be one of the two, but it's definitely a trap. And I think that, like, how do we not know that, it could be the CIA behind it, the government behind it, the cartel working with the government? Because what would the case, like, why call somebody like me? Like somebody who has a voice. And I'm like, well, that's odd. And then other people around my circle, they've gotten calls too.
That's weird.
Right? They're like, wait, that happened to me just 2 weeks ago. So I'm like, okay, something's going on. There's some type of operation going on. Yeah. And I think that, I think it could be the latter though. I think it could be, maybe the cartel luring people in, maybe working for the government.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another trap is Indeed job interviews.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy.
That one's crazy.
Yeah. So the Indeed thing is like, man, it's wild. So what's happening with that is people really got to be careful. What's happening is there's fake job postings on Indeed. Now, these are warehouse jobs, receptionist jobs, and some of them are at night. Which is weird. And I don't know why you would go on an interview at night. So when people are going on these interviews, they're not coming back. They go missing. And there's been dozens and dozens of people reportedly missing now. And this is mainly happening in Texas, Georgia. I believe it's in Florida as well. So I think that, again, when it comes to social media, these postings, it's definitely being infiltrated, because now we have people missing. And going back to the drug Kush, it could be linked to that. Because if people go missing, you have organs, bones. Even there's a lady who just got caught up in Florida. Her store was selling bones.
What?
Yeah, called Wicked Wonderland.
Jeez.
So she got hit with federal charges because she was selling clavicles, skulls, ribs, on Facebook Marketplace.
Oh my gosh. That's some Florida shit right there.
Yeah, that's what everybody says. They were like, oh, that's definitely some Florida shit. Like, but yeah, like, I think all these things could be linked, because the movement of people, you start talking about this shit, it's a little spooky and people don't want to really talk about it. But I mean, all these instances are coming up.
Yeah. And
they could be linked to where, bones, organs, all these things. And a lot of morgues are going under too, because they're getting hit. A lot of morgues across the nation.
Really?
They're getting hit with not actually cremating the bodies.
Oh, they're keeping them.
They're keeping them. And they're saying, oh, here's your ashes. And that's not them.
No way.
Yeah. And they're keeping the bodies, and they're trafficking them.
What?
Yeah. There's a lot of reports of that now.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's crazy. And there's one video where I saw on X to where they were, I believe it was a family. I believe they were going to see their mother. And they go into the morgue, and there's bodies everywhere. And they're like, it's hot in here. The conditions weren't like nobody was put up. It was crazy. And they were like, yo, how are you running this business like this? And it was just, then they reported them. But I think that's what's happening. I think that they're low key running some type of organ trafficking, operation.
Jeez. Organs are worth a lot, right?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
That's nuts. I thought you have to be, don't you have to be alive though to sell those?
I mean, they could be put on ice, they could be, recently deceased, but I think that's why, morgues are, they have the preparation for that. So they can prep somebody right after they die, take the organs out, when they do. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, cloning's the next step from there.
Yeah, Joe Biden. There you go. Joe Biden cloning facility.
Well, I just found out Hitler had 5 body doubles.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if you've looked into that one.
So I do know what they reported where they said he died. He didn't die. So,
I've seen that one too.
Yeah. There's new CIA documents that's declassified saying that Hitler didn't die when they said he died. He actually went to South America, right? So if you look in South America, different parts of South America, there's whole Nazi, like regimes down there. So, okay, well, if you went down there and there's whole like Nazi, communities down there, it showed that he died way later than what they said.
Yeah.
But that could be very plausible because I think that they found that body where they say it was Hitler was actually a female.
No way.
Yeah, it wasn't even a male body.
What?
Yeah, so like the skull, and they did comparables and they were like, wait a minute, this is not even a male. So yeah, I think that that's very plausible. I think that, he had a lot of stuff going on. He was in dark magic. He was very well into the occult. So, body doubles wouldn't be anything off the table.
Yeah.
So
I didn't know he was in dark magic. So he was using witches and stuff.
Yeah, he was looking into a multitude of things, portals,
wow,
entities. If you do the research, he was very enamored with all that stuff.
You think portals were once you think people used to use those back in the day to travel?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that the technology that we have is just being rediscovered, right? So if you think about it, like all the technology we have now, people don't know that there's, electric cars, 100 plus years ago. And then now we're finding out, the pyramids have structures under them. So what are we really talking about? We're just rediscovering, and people, kind of look at these things and be like, well, that's odd. But here's the thing. I think that we were more advanced thousands of years ago than what we are now. Right. So I think that it's just, again, going back to time, even in the Matrix, it shows that that's not really the time that we're in. So in the movie, there was like 1999, but really Morpheus was saying, well, this is like, the year 3000 really. So I think that's what's happening. They want to keep us behind to where the technology doesn't catch up. Right. And we're kind of rediscovering things. So I think as far as like portals, wormholes, all this stuff is starting to come about and we're starting to rediscover.
Yeah. I do agree. We were way more advanced back in the ancient civilizations.
Yeah.
I know they teach us growing up, we were cavemen and couldn't think for ourselves. But.
Right. And that's the thing. Like I say school is a scam because when it comes to history, it's his story. Whoever wins, that's who's telling the story.
Yep.
So when it comes to history, we have to unlearn and relearn a lot of things. It's like, well, wait a minute, hold on, this happened. But, now they're telling us, oh, there's structures under the pyramid. By the way, it's like, wait, hold up, this changes everything, right?
Yeah.
So I think that, school is a scam. It's indoctrination camp. And, school was from war-torn Europe and they brought it over here. And then Rockefeller funded the school system because they wanted a nation of workers, not a nation of thinkers.
Yep.
Right? So why does a school look like a prison? Why do you have to raise your hand to go to the bathroom? The teachers are the CEOs. The principals are who? The wardens. They parallel.
Pretty much.
So even with, the food that they have in prison is the same food that they have in school.
Wow. That's crazy.
They're indoctrination camps.
Yeah. The principal I used to fear. You're so right. I would compare that to a warden. Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, I think that we can learn anything now with, of course, AI as a tool. I call it the University of YouTube. You can learn anything now. I know 17-year-olds with automation channels making 7 figures.
Yep.
I'm a college dropout. By the time I was 21, I had a 7-figure business. Okay. So I was like, well, what do I need school for? See you later.
Facts.
Yeah.
Speaking of scams, NASA.
Yeah. NASA, not a space agency. That's what it stands for. So NASA, I think they were put there just to put the wool over our eyes, right? So Wernher von Braun, are you familiar with him?
Yeah.
He was a Nazi scientist brought over from, Germany after the war. So he's the godfather of NASA and what's on his tombstone. He's talking about the firmament. That Psalms verse that's on his tombstone says, behold God's handiwork in the firmament. So what is he telling us? Oh, we can't get out of here. This is a prison planet. Why is he talking about the firmament? Now, he wrote a book. How he knows this, I don't know, but he predicted Elon, right? He wrote a book. We talked about it last time with Project Mars. And he predicted Elon saying he's going to lead humanity to Mars. But when we had BH on the show last time, he turned down a job from Sergeant Carl Wolf, and he was going to disclose something from NASA. He was scrubbing pictures for NASA, and I think that gives credence to all that. He was just saying like, "Hey, the moon is occupied, so there's something up there." And now he's dead.
Wow.
So
when did he pass away?
I believe it was a few years ago. He got hit by a car.
Huh.
Yeah.
Speaking of getting hit by a car, left eye.
Yes.
The hell happened with that?
Yeah, we were just talking about that. Man, it's crazy because a lot of people don't make the correlation until much, much later. So Left Eye from TLC, she was on a spiritual journey and she was down in Honduras. And what happened was she was talking about sea moss, talking about soursop, healing, the stuff that really, heals the body instead of these pharmaceutical drugs. So she's working with Dr. Sebi down there, right?
Yeah.
And this is back in like 2001, 2002. So then what happens is she's driving in a car one day in Honduras, gets hit in a car accident, car full of people. She's the only one that dies. Right?
Yeah.
Think about this. Angie Stone dies the same way. She just died because she's a very famous artist.
Yeah.
She says a few months ago, oh yeah, Universal, they're stealing all my royalties. I didn't know. I'm owed millions of dollars. Then a couple months later, she's on her way to a show, gets in a car accident, car full of people, is the only one that dies. How?
Weird timing too.
Right? Weird timing.
Right when she was speaking out.
Yep. Same thing with Coolio. Do you remember the artist Coolio?
Yeah.
He was speaking out against the Illuminati.
No way.
Yes. And then guess what? He dies a few months later, right?
What?
So it just seems like every time an artist starts to speak out about what's going on behind the black curtain, they end up dying mysteriously in a car crash. Seems like it'd be a lot of car crashes.
Coolio I saw right before he died, and he was healthy, it looked like.
Really?
I saw him at a celebrity basketball game, I think Floyd Mayweather's, and he was front row looking normal.
Wow.
And then a few months later.
Right?
Weird.
Yeah, he was saying there's videos of him saying like, yes, nothing is what it seems. There's, weird stuff going on in the music industry, the Illuminati, all this other stuff. And then he just dies. So all these artists, they just seem to be, getting knocked off at a very coincidental time.
Yeah.
Right? So same thing with Aaliyah. Aaliyah, her stuff was very, very, I would say coincidental as well. So she's filming something. She's filming a music video, in the Bahamas. And she was on a Cessna plane, right? Now, this plane is very small. It was overweight. They were loading it stuff. And then I believe it was Lenny Kravitz that sent a plane for her. She never got on that plane. Somebody else took it. So then she ends up dying. So I'm like, okay, so there's no experts on there. There's nobody saying like, hey, this plane is too heavy. And then she goes down. So it seems to be a lot of that in the music industry.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
Super weird. In regards to the Illuminati, you think they're in with the deep state, or what's your theory on who's part of that group?
I think the Illuminati is not what we think it is. I think that they're not a part of one government. I don't think that they have any allegiance to a country or a president, more so like a shadow government, if anything, right? It's somebody who has, an agenda globally and not to, again, one entity. What their agenda is, we may not know altogether, right? We don't really know. People have their inklings, be like, oh, well, they're evil, they're doing this, which I think they are. But who are they? Where do they come from? Now, there's one theory that even the Illuminati themselves are being ran by a higher entity. We're talking about interdimensional beings. There's a theory where you heard the reptilian theory and whatnot. Where did that theory come from? Think about it. And they always have these movies that correlate like with that. So there's a movie called They Live where they show like they're running the government, and it's like these weird alien looking things you put on the glasses. You can see them, but when you take it off, they look like, regular people. So I think, it could be that deep, right? Because now we're starting to see Congress disclose these, interdimensional beings. There's been, many hearings on this now.
Yeah.
So now they're saying they're under the water. They're coming from, in and out of time, in and out of our dimension. So, and it's been scientifically proven as well to where they're like, okay, well, there's something under the water and we don't know exactly what it is. We see these orbs coming out and these are being seen by the U.S. Navy.
Wow.
Yeah. This has already been disclosed at Congress.
Damn.
Yeah. So where we're at as humanity, I don't know. I think that we're probably going to see something within the next year or two. As far as
see an actual alien.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think so.
That's nuts.
Yeah. Because they're leading us up to it, right? They already been in contact, I think.
For a while, I think.
For a while. I think for the past 60, 70 years.
At least.
At least, right? Because we did a quantum leap from the 1940s up until now. I think Eisenhower made a deal and, he exchanged human beings for technology. And then, not too long later, we went to the moon, right? And that was a whole psyop within itself. And I think that, we did go, but it wasn't what we saw. But that's what I think. I think that we did a whole quantum leap into technology and we're exchanging humans for technology. Now, where we're at now, I think humanity is pretty much ready for it. What they're planning for it, Project Bluebeam, maybe. Now, if you don't know what Project Bluebeam is, it is a fake alien invasion, which we've seen in Miami a couple years ago. Remember that?
That was super fake.
Right? So I think it could be something that they're gearing us up for when it comes to that. And even that was weird because there's only one singular piece of footage when there's cameras all around Bayside. And I've been there in Bayside, Miami. And I was there right before it happened. And I was like, yo, there's cameras everywhere, right? So where's the footage of, these so-called kids with fireworks?
Yeah.
And you need the whole entire police, department to come out for, a dozen kids playing with fireworks? That makes no sense.
Yeah, that thing was BS. There's
right?
CCTV everywhere there.
Right. So where's that footage? We still haven't seen that footage. Where is it?
Yeah.
There's one piece of footage from a far, balcony shot, and that was it. Blurry, strange. So I think they might be gearing us up for that.
You think they'll bring the mystery fog back?
Ooh, mystery fog. That was very strange because after that, a lot of people were getting sick.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, too. I think it could be related to the fires that happened in California, right? So what was in that fog, right? We don't know. It was just this mystery fog that was going around. People were getting sick. But then, not too long after, we have these crazy wildfires, which it could have been started by arson. And they did catch a few people that saying that was responsible. But I think something was in that fog, right? So how do we know it's not flammable? How do we know that it's something that it couldn't catch fire very easily? There's vegetation where the fires were. So it could have came from that fog. And people were thinking about, well, it may have been a health thing, but well, what about that rail system that they're building in California right where the fires were, right? So it was a land grab. And I'm from LA, right? There's no way that the fire can come from the Palisades, skip over the valley, and then go to Altadena, Pasadena. There's no way. I know that area very well. So that was very done purposely for sure. And I think that maybe the fog has something to do with it because maybe that helped kind of, burn all that stuff up. And then what do we have in a few years?
Olympics.
The Olympics, right? So the smart city plan that they have for 2028 is at the same time. So how do you get all those millionaires to get off that land? Oh, a fire. How do we build this railway? Oh, yeah, we just burn this up and then just create the railway.
Crazy.
Right? So we have a smart city coming. We have the Olympics coming. That's a multi-billion-dollar play. Makes sense. Let's burn it all up. That's
Hawaii was right before that too.
Right. Hawaii.
That one was weird.
Yeah. And that's the thing. So all those people who lost their homes in that land, they were natives to that land. So they just couldn't get them off that land. Now, there is a law in place to where if a natural disaster happens, then the government can come in and do what they want and buy at pennies on the dollar, let investors come in, because that's what's happening in California too.
Wow.
As soon as all that stuff got burnt up, there was text messages on X showing, landowners like, hey, look, I just got a text message from somebody saying, I want to buy your land for pennies on the dollar right away.
Wow.
Right? So it's like, well, it's all about the land because you just can't move somebody off the land unless there's a natural disaster. And that's what happened.
Yeah. I mean, fires, there'll probably be tsunamis, I'm guessing, in the future.
Yeah.
Earthquakes.
Did you see the volcano that erupted?
Yeah. Where was that?
You know what? I have to do more research on it. I just saw it right now. And I found that very interesting too.
That hasn't happened in a while, right?
Right. Yeah.
You really wonder if they have the capacity to erupt volcanoes.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think it's too far-fetched to believe.
Yeah, HARP. I think HARP, that's something that they've been using for years to control the weather, these natural disasters. That's a way to, control, the climate, the ecosystem, the geopolitics, whatever you want to call it, on many different levels. I
mean, if they can control a hurricane path, I think they can erupt a volcano.
Right. So there's a patent actually on that to where they can control, they use it for control. That's how they put it, right? So there's a patent, actually a US patent, where it's where you can control hurricanes. But they said they use it to prevent hurricanes. But can't you use that to create hurricanes as well?
Yeah.
So if you look into the patent, it actually has a mechanism to where it can control the hurricane and where you want it to go.
I mean, that just happened with North Carolina, right?
Correct.
That path was the weirdest.
The weirdest path, right? So that's what I'm saying. So they can take a natural hurricane, right? And then just move it around.
Really makes you question like these giant tsunamis that happened in the past. Was that artificially made?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think, again, it's always an agenda behind it. Nothing is what it seems, right? So I just think that they use these things. And then the people who they put in place, you got to look at the mayor of LA. She had ties to Cuba.
Wow.
She had, if you look into her background, she left right before the fires and she knew about it. She left right before the fires happened. And then when she was in Ghana, where she was in an inauguration for the president there, then what happens? There's a fire there too.
What the hell?
Yeah. She leaves, then there's a fire.
What are the odds of that?
Right? So, and they're saying, it was an electrical issue. They have fires all the time. I'm like, that's very odd timing. Like wherever you go, like there's just fires happening.
That is crazy. Birth certificates.
Ooh.
We got to dive down that one.
America's the Matrix.
So what happens when you sign that?
A lot of people don't know this. It seems crazy, but here's the facts. America's a matrix because as soon as you're born, you're signed over to the government. They're monetizing you right now. Okay? So your birth certificate is actually a financial instrument. That's why it's on bond paper, right? So they take it to the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, put you on the DTCC, which is the Depository Trust Clearing Corporation, which is the back office for the stock exchange. So you have a stock exchange number right now. You're being traded right now on the live market.
Wow.
Yes. So you have a QSIP number on your birth certificate, right? A QSIP number is how they track you and how you get traded. Okay. So why did they do this and how did this even happen? So there's a little thing called the Titanic. You may have heard of it. Okay. Some very powerful bankers were on there that was opposed to the Federal Reserve. Now, who wasn't on that boat? Oh, JP Morgan and other billionaire bankers that was for the Federal Reserve. JP Morgan, right before, the night before they took off, they set sail, leaves all his luggage on the ship because he was supposed to be on that ship. Then says, I'm not going. Him and his wife just, reneged. They're out. They left their luggage. Titanic goes down, right? Now, what day did the Titanic go down? April 15th. What's April 15th? Tax day.
Wow.
What happened the very next year after the Titanic went down with those bankers who opposed the Federal Reserve? Oh, the Federal Reserve was created. So that's how the system is now, is a matrix, because think about this. Why do we have to pay taxes if they can just print up the money? Can't you just print up the money and just pay the taxes, right? So we're paying something that's backed by nothing because we're off the gold standard, right? We been off the gold standard. We're off the petrodollar now. Nobody's redoing that deal now. So what is the dollar backed by now? Nothing, right? And here's the thing too. Since its inception, the Federal Reserve, why has our purchasing power gone down over 98%? It's a scam. So they created this new system and say, okay, instead of having regular slaves, how about we turn everybody into slaves, financial slaves? How about we bankrupt this whole system that ran off of tariffs, create a Federal Reserve, which is a private entity, okay? That's why it says Federal Reserve note. Before we had silver certificates, before we had actual, currency, but now we have notes. Those are IOUs, okay? So create the Federal Reserve. All right. So now, how do we monetize this? Well, we put taxes on them. Taxes used to be voluntary. Taxes used to be temporary to pay for wars, any other agendas, but now they're actual, part of the law. Yeah. We got to pay taxes or else you go to prison. How did that happen? Well, after they incorporated, the 14th Amendment, now it's legal because it wasn't in the, original Constitution. So, okay. So how do we monetize this? Oh, we give everybody that had, rights, we turn them into privileges. How do we do that? Let's give them a birth certificate, because before it was just for records. Now it's something to where it's mandatory and it has to be, filed, documented and whatnot, right? So they will standardize then. So now we can turn these rights into what? Oh, privileges, because a privilege can be taken away. So why do we need a driver's license, right? Because they want to monetize it. Your license or your certificate, they put what? Right on the stock exchange. Same thing with your birth certificate. Why do we have to have a marriage license? Oh, because we can put that on the stock exchange and trade it. So everything that we do that was a God-given right now is a privilege, because you're supposed to be a U.S. national, not a citizen. They made us all citizens. People think, yeah, citizen, that's great. I'm a U.S. citizen. No, it's bullshit. You're supposed to be a U.S. national because that goes by the original Constitution. Okay? If you have a passport, right?
Yeah.
Look on your passport. It says U.S. national / citizen. It's on your passport.
Wow.
It's right in front of your face. So they stripped all that away, monetized us, put us on the open market, because what? Now the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, can give us money. They're like, oh, as long as people are working and they're paying taxes and they're living and they're in this cycle, you're good for it because it's backed by nothing else. We're the ones that's making this whole rat wheel go. So that's why America's a matrix.
Yeah. And you look in the stock market, 94% are owned by 7 companies.
There you go. Right?
Isn't that crazy?
Yes, it's completely manipulated. That's why I'm so heavy on crypto. I think that they can only participate. They cannot control it. Blockchain, right? And it's a global market. So now we're talking about more liquidity. We're talking about transparency. We can see everything on Ledger, right? Because think about this. This is how another scam they got us too. They're making us believe when we deposit our money into the banks, the bank is safe. How come we can't see what they're doing? Every time we deposit money, you know that money isn't yours, right? So once you deposit your money, guess what they're doing? They're trading on it.
10 times.
10 times, 20 times, then give it back to you. If you try to go to the bank right now and pull out 50 grand, they're going to give you hell, right? So thanks to Obama, he signed something called the Dodd-Frank Act. and he fucked everybody. So what does the Dodd-Frank Act do? Oh, you take on the burden of the bank when you deposit the money because what? Now you're an unsecured creditor. That's what the Dodd-Frank Act does. So next time the banks fail, it's not going to be a bail-in, or it's not going to be a bail-out. It's going to be a bail-in.
So we got to fund them out?
We got to fund them out. They're going to take the money out of your account.
Damn. And that's a possibility.
That's already happened in Greece before.
Wow.
Look at Argentina as well. So again, we've seen these things happen in other countries and people think, there's no way it could be a bail-in. Well, yeah, it's already happened in other parts of the world that went belly up.
There's been some banks in the U.S. that have failed in the past few years already.
Signature Bank, Silicon Valley.
Yep.
These are massive banks and they're failing. So we're trusting these people with our money? It's like, you guys don't think this can happen? It's definitely happening.
Weird. Chase bailed them out, right?
Yeah. And then if you remember, even with a while ago, Washington Mutual, remember them? They cease to exist now.
Jeez.
So these banks are not so safe. I only keep a little bit of money into, my bills and whatever else.
Same. I keep as minimal as possible.
Yeah.
Banks.
I don't trust these fucking banks at all.
No, hell no.
Yeah. They're not financially sound. If we all go to the bank tomorrow, if everybody on earth, or let's just say everybody in California or Las Vegas, everybody go to the bank tomorrow, pull out your money. Guess what happens?
Crash.
Because they don't have the money. 3 to 5% of actual currency is physical. The rest of it is just ones and zeros.
Damn, only 3 to 5%?
Yes, they don't have your money.
Ooh, that's nothing.
They don't have your money. This is why I teach blockchain, crypto, because the new utility or the new currency is utility. That's where we're going. We have to solve a problem, right? We can't just continue down this fairy dust road of IOUs, right?
100%.
So I think that when it comes to solving problems, that's the new currency, right? So I think that this system, I don't believe in it. I never believed in it. They pulled the wool over everybody's eyes. They tricked everybody, say, oh yeah, just invest, get a 401 and a Roth IRA and you'll be fine. And maybe you'll get a 50 grand, 100 grand, equity in your home that you paid for 30 plus years. I know guys who threw $5 into a meme coin and made 100 grand.
Same. Yeah, they teach you to get 7% a year on the S&P, but they don't teach you about inflation.
Right.
So that 7%, you're actually losing money.
There you go.
Isn't that crazy?
Right. and none of this is taught in school.
Yeah.
Right. They teach us, wood shop and cooking and, calculus and, a bunch of people that,
Sewing for me.
Yeah, sewing?
Yeah, I failed that one. I broke the machine.
Oh, shit. But they didn't teach us how to balance a checkbook. They didn't teach us how to open up a bank account or a business.
Yeah.
Because that breaks the system if we're all making money and using the system against them.
Yep.
So
where can people learn from you with crypto and stuff like that?
Yeah, so you can go to maverickapproach.com. I do consultations. I have a program called Break the Matrix Community. I'm building a community to where we do weekly calls. We share the codes amongst each other. We have different modules for AI learning, cryptocurrency, blockchain. And I think blockchain itself is going to be bigger than cryptocurrency itself because it's really about the technology and the implications of it, right? It can be used in anything, media. It can be used in movies, music. You can share royalties, peer-to-peer with your audience. So I think that it's going to open up the global economy and people will be able to utilize it in many, many different facets and ways. And it's so important because it's here. And again, they can't control it. They can only participate. BlackRock, they're opening up a brand new stock exchange that's going to be tokenized in Texas. It's called the Texas Stock Exchange. Next year, that runs 24/7, 365. Why do you think they're doing that? They're the biggest asset manager on earth. Think it's a game still? I don't think so.
Yeah, that's a bullish sign right there.
Right.
Thanks for coming on, man. We'll link your stuff below.
Of course.
It was fun.
Appreciate it.
Yup. Check them out, guys. See you next time.